Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Unfiltered Emotions. My name is Kairi Harness, a Humanity Rising ambassador and one of your co hosts. Unfiltered Emotions is a mental health podcast co hosted by Humanity Rising ambassadors Kairi Harness, Elin, and Shreyas Gyotra, featuring Dr. Michelle Magida. She is the founder and clinical director of Therapy, etc., a group practice in Buffalo Grove, which has a mission to empower, teach, and connect. And she has over 15 years of experience helping children and adolescents achieve social, emotional, behavioral, and academic success. Dr. Magida, it's a pleasure to have you again.
Thank you so much. I always enjoy our unfiltered emotions conversations.
I really enjoy having you here too. Our topic today is substance use and substance awareness. So, substance use went up 61% among eighth graders between 2016 and 2020. 62% of teenagers in the 12th grade have abused alcohol, and 50% of teenagers have abused a substance. Why is it important to discuss prevention?
One of the reasons it's important to discuss prevention is because of the very statistics that you just shared. I mean, 62% increase in eighth graders exposing themselves to substance use in a mere 4 years is pretty astounding. And then when we think about by the end of 12th grade, 50% of all teens have dabbled in some sort of substance use or misuse behavior. So the need for prevention has never been greater. Studies show that the earlier in life a young person starts using alcohol or other drugs, um, the greater their lifetime risk of misuse or addiction. Prevention works best when the community and the people in our teens world address openly, honestly address risk factors and protective factors, and understand that each individual person needs to have a healthy relationship with themselves, have a healthy relationship with their community, feel like a sense of belonging. But we also need to address social health and emotional health concerns and find prevention tools that are sustainable. Every year, substance use is delayed, um, helps the adolescent brain to develop. And risks of addiction, we need to minimize those as much as possible. So, modern prevention systems um, include the four E's: early action. That means act early across the lifespan and, you know, at any time, right? You
Yeah.
don't stop caring about substance use or misuse once you magically turn 18. Easy access, creating sustainable barrier-free access to prevention resources and services. Effective delivery, delivering these resources and services in a responsive manner to the local needs, equitable opportunities, developing supportive opportunities for everyone to achieve optimal health, regardless of their socioeconomic status or their race or ethnicity or gender or sexual orientation or religion or where they're located geographically or what disabilities they might have, or any other various factors. We need to make sure that everybody has equitable opportunities for these resources.
Yeah. Of course, that's so important. I especially like the use of the word equitable. I just think that's just a great word to use for this, especially because having equal access to resources can be very difficult for people with substance use problems. So, why do you think some teens turn to drugs or alcohol?
There's actually a lot of data on this. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, there are five main reasons why teens and adolescents experiment with drugs and alcohol. The first reason is to fit in, peer pressure, social acceptance. The second reason is to feel good, that to activate the pleasure pathways in the brain. Because in the short term, in the immediate um, present, it feels good. To feel better. So, using or misusing drugs or alcohol as a maladaptive or unhealthy coping mechanism for stress, mental health, or physical pain. Another reason is to do better, to enhance athletic or academic performance. And then lastly is to experiment, thrill seeking, new experiences.
Yeah. Um, I know that this is something I've seen a lot of my friends deal with, like, especially when it comes to peer pressure in drugs and alcohol. That's something that I'm sure a lot of people have had experience with, especially at our age and like going from high school to college, where you have a lot more access and a lot less supervision. It's really
Mm-hmm.
easy to start falling into these not healthy habits. I don't want to say bad habits, but like just
Yeah,
not
no,
healthy environments. Um,
absolutely.
so, what are some common misconceptions about substance use among high school students?
One of the common misconceptions is that marijuana is a gateway drug. While this may be true in some cases, most teens who develop a substance use disorder actually begin with alcohol before moving on to other drugs. Teen substance use, uh, another myth is that teen substance use isn't that serious because, oh, all teens experiment or go through this phase. But that couldn't be further from the truth. And we'll talk more about why that is in a little bit. And the last misconception is that a teen misusing or abusing substances is a result of bad parenting or, a bad kid because only bad kids do those kinds of things.
I definitely wouldn't think but like having a substance abuse problem makes you a bad person or you were raised wrong. I definitely wouldn't think that. Um, I know my relationship with alcohol is like came from like parents being like, it's okay if you want to try, just be safe, sort of like way I was raised around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people grow up with the don't touch it or you'll die, like sort of thing, where they're like,
Mm-hmm.
don't even think about it or look at it or do anything, which I don't find very helpful.
Right. And I think that instead of using it as a scare tactic, a better approach would be to explain why, right? Explain why abuse and misuse is harmful. Um, what is safe use and why the recommendations are the way that they are in terms of age for being able to access things like alcohol. All of those things need to definitely be taken into consideration.
Yeah, most definitely. So, how does substance abuse affect mental health, friendships, academic performance, etc.?
Well, substance abuse can definitely affect so many areas of a young person's life. Effects of drug use on the body. Um, Drug misuse by teens can significantly increase their risk of death from illness, accidents, homicide, or suicide. Teen substance use can lead to risky behaviors such as driving under the influence or unsafe sex practices. The effects on social life, teen drug use is detrimental in terms of social acceptance and interaction with peers. It's common for substance abusing youth to disengage from clubs, groups, sports, um, or things that they, previously would find enjoyable or found themselves engaging in. And a lack of engagement can then lead to social alienation and stigmatization by peers. There's also like burning bridges. It's hard for a teen in the moment to consider the long-term effects of their choices, especially when they're further inhibited by the substance use. And then effects on academics, tons of research to support that substance use and misuse impact lower grades, poor attendance, and an increased likelihood to drop out before graduation. The physical and behavioral health effects of teen drug misuse can also very much be an obstacle to academic success.
So we've gone over how it affects our life and how, like, friendships, academics, and such. Now, how do substances like nicotine, marijuana, alcohol affect developing brains compared to, a fully developed adult brain?
Absolutely. So, when we talk about the prefrontal cortex, or the part of our brain that's responsible for our executive functioning skills, this is the part of the brain that is most affected when we abuse or misuse substances, especially for a developing brain. I'm gonna get a little geeky here for a minute, but our brains develop from back to front and then regress from front to back. So, we start with our limbic system all the way in the back, which is our primal, um, is it safe enough to connect, or do we need to protect ourselves? Fight, flight, or freeze response. Very, very primitive. And then the last part of our brain that develops is what helps us regulate ourselves, regulate our thinking, like planning and organizing, time management, working memory, things like that, or regulating the implementation of like our behavior, like of the choices we make, our response inhibition, like being able to not interrupt, being able to wait to hear the whole question before blurting out an answer, emotional control and regulation, sustained attention, flexibility, and goal-directed persistence, meaning making a long-term goal and sticking through with it. And so, if this is the last part of our brain to develop, and it's not fully developed until mid 20s for females, late 20s for males, then we don't fully have the capacity to make safe, healthy decisions or to consider long-term consequences until well after college. So then, if we add substances which inhibit or cloud that judgment, which is already impaired to begin with because developmentally you just don't have full access to it, you are making life that much harder for yourself. Furthermore, if you continue to expose a healthy developing brain to too many substances, then it can very much impact the development of those executive functioning skills, and you can have deficits well into adulthood. And those deficits are may not be something that you ever um, won't live with, but certainly things that you can learn how to live with.
So that definitely causes these long-term consequences that you can't really walk back.
Right.
So, how can we support friends who might be struggling with substances without enabling them?
This is a really, really hard one. The answer is that you need to detach with love and set boundaries. That doesn't mean that you're ignoring what's happening, but you're also not going to stand for it either. It can be very easy for family and friends to be drawn into damaging patterns, but that just enables the behavior. So we don't want to fix the person. We don't want to cover for them. We don't want to drop everything and rescue them when there's a crisis. We do want to say, I'm worried about you, and I think it's time for you to get help. Also, if you feel comfortable, go to a safe or trusted adult. Go to your school counselor, go to your parent. Many high schools have the option of anonymously reporting concerns to um, school personnel. And so doing that can be a way that awareness can be brought to the problem.
Yeah, my college has we have a whole policy regarding this where they're like, if you think your roommate or your friend is having a problem, go to your RA or somebody at Student Life and they will talk with them. Nobody gets in trouble. They're like, we're not like illegal or not, you're not here to get in trouble. We're here to help you as a person, like
Yeah,
help you with your issues and whatever problems you may be having.
absolutely. And the thing is that there's a lot of, we can explain it, we can understand it, we can support it, right? We can support the fact that there are certain needs that are not being met. And yet, each person is responsible for the consequences of the choices that they make.
Right.
So, um, there's what you're saying is absolutely true. When there is concern, there is still time to have conversations and to seek help. I remember my freshman year of college, um, literally first weekend, like moving in, like classes haven't even started yet. It's just like the full first weekend that like at least all the freshmen are on campus because freshmen like started before everyone else. Um, and as you can imagine, tons of parties. And there's this one guy that found himself completely, I don't know what, under the influence of what, on the football field. And there goes his college experience because he got expelled for breaking and entering and all that stuff. Right. So we can sympathize, we can empathize, and yet each person is still responsible for the consequences of their choices.
Exactly. Um, so what are some healthier ways to cope with stress, anxiety, or even trauma instead of turning to substances to cope?
Well, the first one, and I can be a little bit, maybe a bit biased here, seeing as I am a therapist, but get help. Get help. Talk to someone. Communicate your wants and needs. Talk to your teachers, talk to your school counselor, talk to your parents, talk to your friends if but don't burden your friends. They're not your therapist. But put whatever you're thinking and feeling into words and share it. And then find balance. Find balance between the pressure and the fun and the needs and the wants, so that we don't fall into all or nothing mind traps where we're either all good or all bad or all in or all, and partying or all out and just, studying. We need to be careful of those unreasonable expectations of ourselves.
Yeah. Watching for those unreasonable expectations is so difficult, especially when you're in school, like trying to, whenever you're worrying about grades, expectations from your parents, that can be really difficult. I
Yeah,
definitely experienced that. So, thank you, Dr. Magida. Thank you so much for joining us and your passion to help youth enhance their mental health and overall well being.
it's
Also,
been my pleasure.
yeah.
Thank you so much for this topic and awesome questions.
Also, thank you, listeners. If you have a topic or question you'd like us to cover, please feel free to email us at students@humanityrising.org. Join us next time as we continue exploring more unfiltered emotions.